as I go through town last night, there had to be 150 to 180, maybe 200 people drinking somewhere in the circle in several of the quadrants. That is not going to be, our police are not going to engage. We're not going to engage in social distancing, making sure people are 6 feet apart. That's your responsibility. And in this plan, your responsibility as a business owner, as a manager, as an employee, is to make sure people are staying apart. Now, I understand as a small business owner for 28 years, I don't know what it's like to close for 10 weeks. I really don't. And I feel bad for all of you. I just don't want to see your short-term gain affect your long-term ability to make a living. And so I'm just putting it out there. You're not going to see me sending you a letter saying you guys are violating the state rules. I'm not going to do that. But if a state trooper drives by or one of the liquor control enforcement officers drives by, you will either get a fine and or loss of permit. And that's going to be devastating. So while we're talking about the Liquor Control Board, I know that many of you have an ability to sell alcohol outside for outside al fresco dining, but not everyone. I'm still trying to get a indication from the governor's office as to what we can do with that to extend it during this post-COVID yellow period. I don't want to see people getting cited by the LCB for selling liquor in the middle of Northampton Street when they're not allowed to by permit. As you know, when you apply for your permit, you have to give the boundaries of where you're selling liquor. And obviously you're not saying it on Northampton Street or 3rd Street or Ferry Street or anywhere else, Washington Street or anywhere. So I want to make sure that we're complying and that when we give you permission to do that, we have the ultimate permission. Now, it may be that the city has to go like we do for festivals. The sponsor gets a LCB license for the festival grounds. We may have to do something like that, or the governor may have already said that he wants to set up some, extension of the premises onto the sidewalks, but not into the street. So one of the things we are requiring is, in addition to the application, is a certificate of insurance naming the city as an additional insured for a $1 million policy. It's just to simply call up your business insurance carrier and tell them that you will be able to do the city's additional insured for the city. And it's a nominal fee, and it'll cover your liability insurance. So with that as introductory remarks, I'd like to call on Congressman Wild for any comments she may have.
Thank you so much, Sal. I really appreciate it. And I asked to be joined in when I saw a notice of this come across my email or Facebook or something, because I think it's such an incredibly important issue for our area. I moved to the Lehigh Valley in 1987. And the growth in the restaurant industry has just been exponential, and really, I think, is one of the highlights of living in the Lehigh Valley, that we have so many independently owned, wonderful restaurants throughout the valley. Easton, of course, is the epicenter of fine dining in the valley, and I'm jealous of that since I'm on the west side of the valley. But I am incredibly committed to making sure that we do everything at the federal level that we can possibly do that will help in this process. And I'm glad that I ran into Sal yesterday and we had a brief conversation about this plan. Lewis sent over the plan, and I appreciate that. I've read it. I just want to tell you real quickly about something that I'm excited about that I'm going to be working on at the federal level, which I hope is going to integrate nicely with what you all are talking about. I know that the Paycheck Protection Plan was disappointing for many people in the restaurant industry, at least the independently owned restaurants. And even with tweaks, I've been told many times that it's just not getting to what you folks really need. And so I have I've come together with my colleague, Earl Blumenauer, who is, as he calls himself, a food proponent. Who wouldn't be? And he's from Oregon, and he has a bill that I have signed on to, or will soon be signing on to. It isn't fully written yet. It's called the Restaurants Act of 2020, and restaurants is an acronym that stands for the real economic support that acknowledges unique restaurant assistance needed to survive. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a $120 billion grant program that will provide structured relief to restaurants through 2020. And under the program, what would happen is the grant values would cover the differences between your revenues from 2019 and projected revenues through 2020 with a maximum grant of $10 million. Restaurant stabilization grants would not need to be paid back, and funding would be made available through 2020. Obviously, time is of the essence. We've got to get this to the floor and vote on it and get it passed quickly because we're already halfway through 2020 almost. Eligible expenses would include, and by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if those dates are extended. Eligible expenses would include payroll, not including any compensation that exceeds $100,000 a year. Probably not a whole lot of people in the restaurant industry who have an income higher than that. Benefits, mortgage, rent, utilities, maintenance, supplies, including PPE and cleaning materials, food, debt obligations to suppliers, and any other expenses that are deemed essential to the restaurant industry. If a restaurant closes before the end of 2020, any unspent funds would need to be returned. And if the grant award exceeds the actual end of year revenues, the grant would be converted to a loan with a 10-year term at 1% interest. So that's all I wanted to say about what we're doing at the federal level, because I think it's the most focused on this industry, but I'm really proud of it. It's the first of the economic recovery proposals that I've seen that is carefully tailored to the needs of a particular sector, in this case, the restaurant industry. And so while I'm grateful to our fast food businesses and the workers that have kept America going during this difficult time, it's time to address the needs of the remaining 70% individually and locally owned restaurants in our state. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion, and we'll be taking careful notes, and a couple of my staffers are on the call too, because we intend to move forward vigorously with this legislation. Thanks, Sal.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And as I said, we're honored to have you on our call today. She's been one of the very few federal representatives that I've worked with over the last 30 years that actually is involved locally. Sometimes they get to Washington, they forget about us, and Susan hasn't done that at all. So I appreciate it. Right now, we're up to about 80 participants on our call. So I know you're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of things. We're going to go through the plan right now, but I just want to remind retailers that are on the call, this is your golden opportunity to utilize the restaurants dining outdoors al fresco to maybe give a coupon, or don't give a coupon it, or give a gift certificate for $5 or $10, whatever, depending on your business. Say, here, stop in when you're here, but that means you got to be open at night when the restaurants are busy, and pull them into your store. Restaurants are a little bit different because they need outdoor dining to expand their footprint. The retailers, you're still allowed to have people in your store, but you just can't have too many. So fortunately or unfortunately, it's easier to work inside your store. But if you want to pull out some display items or something to the outside, you are more than willing to have you participate in this business recovery program. We want you to succeed and do well also. But that does mean you may have to change your hours. If you're open during the day, maybe you want to bring some things out to the 200 or 300 block of Northampton Street if you're not located on that street, and sell your wares outside like you would for some of the festivals. Maybe you're right around the corner from the quadrants or something that'll be closed. So we want to help you as much as we can, and on an individual basis, we'll try to do that. The next thing I just want to say is that some restaurants are located where there's a lot of restaurants. Normally, in good times, that's great. But when you're trying to provide outdoor dining, that could be difficult. I love going by the southeast quadrant of the circle every weekend, Fridays and Saturday nights, as I'm going back and forth, and seeing, sometimes 200 to 300 young adults sitting out there or standing out there, conversing, having a good time, drinking. There's 5 restaurants in that quadrant. Now we can utilize Lens Court. We're going to shut down the quadrant to parking, but we're going to have to come up with a way to accommodate all 5 of those restaurants. Not as easy as, let's say, shutting down the 200 block of Northampton Street where we only have 2 or 3 restaurants. So that's going to be part of our problem. Our space is not infinite, but we'll do everything to make it work. No one is permitted to participate in the city right away without your fully endorsed application and your certificate of insurance naming the city as an additional insured. I have to require that, and I have to have that in my hands before Thursday if you expect to open up on Friday. So we're going to give you the ways to stay in touch with us. We're setting up an email called recovery@easton-pa.gov. Mr. Kingsley will be in charge of that program. He is our Director of Community and Economic Development. You know that he has handled with GEDP the loan program, as well as help people with their PPP, their payroll protection plan. So he's also handling any benefit that comes to us from the CARES Act that was passed by Congress. So we're looking to bring that up. So Louis, if you could put up the plan, we'll go through the plan first and then open up the questions and the application. We'll go to plan first. Okay, so this is the plan. I tried to send it to as many people as possible. If you did not get this, my email is spanto@easton-pa.gov. It's on the website. Most people have it. You have an email. You have an email from me because I invited everybody. So send me an email if you did not get this plan. I'll be more than happy to send it to you today. As you can see, it can be used by businesses throughout the city, not just in the downtown. Let's take, for example, on Cattell Street. You have Pizza Doro on the corner of March and Cattell. We could close down half of March Street and it's not going to affect anyone because there's no one left on that street. The other businesses are already moved. So we can't shut down the 300 block of Cattell or any block of Cattell. We could do that. Let's go up to the 700 block of Cattell and go to Giacomo's, or the 500 block and go to Hill's Kitchen. We can shut down the side street, but we can't shut down the main thoroughfare. When we shut down a street, we'll only be shutting down part of it so that emergency vehicles, medical services, fire services, and police services can get through. And we need to have this on our map so that the fire department and police department know what, and so does 911, know which streets are completely closed and which ones are partially closed. I understand that may be an inconvenience for some people. So, well, you do it for festivals. Well, we do it for festivals because they know which ones we're shutting down. This case, we also have to let them know which ones we're shutting down. So all businesses can participate regardless of where you are. Originally and still, the program will run Thursday through Sunday in most areas, but we do not have, as you know, we have 81 and now still 71 city employees furloughed, most of which are in the Public Works Department or the Code Department. Those two departments will be in charge of this plan. So we can't move these 2,000-pound barriers each Sunday night and put them back in place on Thursday. So the barriers are going to be in place 24/7. They can't all get installed this week. Dave Hopkins is in charge of that, and he's doing his best to find as many as we can and a third-party contractor to put them in. We'll pay the third-party contractor. We'll pay for the rental. However, it's got to be a third party. We simply do not have the staff to do it. Plus, it takes, backhoes and cranes and everything else to do it. So that's important. Your protocols call for the chairs to be 6 feet apart when someone's sitting in them. So that means your tables have to be at least 8 feet apart. And that's going to be up to you to work with the city and try to figure out where we could put these tables and chairs. As I said, many of you, it won't be a problem. You can spread out with no problem. Others are going to have a problem. I think of Antonio's on South 3rd Street and Billy's. We'll expand as much as we can, but we cannot allow you to put tables and chairs in front of another business on the sidewalk if you don't have their permission. And that's trespassing, and we certainly don't want you to do that. So we will open up, we will protect parking spaces with one parallel Jersey wall, and then maybe 2 or 3, depending on how many we need, in front of your location to at least protect the people who are dining there in case some nut decides to drive through. Next, when we go down this plan, I think we should go to number 2. You, not the city, you are responsible. Failure to enforce those social distancing protocols may result in your revocation of your outdoor permit. So there's a lot riding on the line for you. You can do short-term gain or long-term gain. And I know you're all in it for the long term. So we want to make sure that you understand that this is your responsibility. The code department, the police department are not going to come in on a Saturday night or Friday night and tell you, get your tables further apart. We're not going to do that. You're going to get a letter from us Tuesday or Wednesday saying, this is your warning. And then next week, if you do it again, you're just going to say you're not in the program anymore. We don't want to have the stick. The carrot is being allowing you to open, to make a little bit of profitability on your business. But the stick is, we could pull that, your permit can be forfeited. So the city is paying for the Jersey walls, which are really important to the safety of your patrons. And I think your insurance companies are going to want to know that. However, you must provide your own tables, linens, eating utensils, etc. If you're a retailer, you have to provide your own display racks or shelving unit, whatever you want to have in there. All right. The next thing I wanted to go over was the single-use menus, making sure your commercial dishwasher is being used. Let me be honest with you. I've been going out, my wife and I, we've been getting takeout from all the city restaurants. You've seen me as much as we can, but the takeout is not the same as dining. Going out to dinner and sitting with friends and family and having a nice meal, having your appetizer, then your entree, then your dessert come is much different than taking something home in a styrofoam or plastic container and sitting at your kitchen table eating it. So we want you to be outdoor dining. We want to make sure we bring that back. As Congresswoman Wild said, it is the growth area of our city. You are the lifeblood of our city. Small businesses are the lifeblood of our city. We don't have large corporations. You know, Crayola has a presence downtown, but they're not a large corporation in the city. They're in Forks Township. So we really, and we love the people in Forks and Palmer, and from what I'm understanding now, a 70-mile radius that are coming to our restaurants. But we want to make sure that your restaurants understand that Joe Gill's going to make sure your commercial dishwasher is working, because it gets up to like 120, 140 degrees with hot water. So we want to make sure that happens. If you're on a street that is protected, the tables and chairs can stay out there, but I wouldn't recommend it. You are responsible for your tables and chairs. You want to pull them in at night, pull them in. You want to take your indoor ones that you have, because you don't even have to buy outdoor seating. Just take the tables and chairs you have inside and bring them outside. That's your responsibility. We are closing. We want you to have the right of way cleaned up by 10:30. By 10:30, most dinners are over. Now, there are people that may be staying for drinks or something, but you won't need as many tables. You are responsible for cleaning up and disposing of your own trash. We do not have the manpower for you to put trash in our city containers. View this as if they're eating inside your restaurant, not outside. View it the same as you view your people that are on the sidewalks now. You take the trays in, and you clean them inside, and you take your garbage out, hopefully 5 times a week that you're getting pickup, at least commercial pickup 5 times a week. All operations are under the governor's executive order for cleanliness. So if you're a restaurant, fine. If you're a retailer, you want to sanitize your doorknobs every time a customer leaves, your PIN pad on your credit card, those things that someone else may use that is used by more than one person. We don't want you blocking any fire lanes or fire hydrants or ADA compliance ramps. If you use tents, we're going to require that all those tents that you use be weighted down, especially if you're going to leave them up. They're going to have to be weighted down so that in case of high winds, which we've had a lot of in the last 2 weeks. Also, when it starts to get fall, if we're not into green by then, and you want to use propane heaters, your tent better be, we don't recommend it under a tent, but it better be fire rated 10, fire retardant materials. And our fire inspectors will be down there. Both the chief and the deputy chief will be there to make sure that you're safe. We certainly don't want anything happening with fire related. Smoking is prohibited in all temporary outdoor spaces. Now, we don't prohibit smoking on our streets. I wish we did. But if it's a confined area where tables and chairs are on the joint, you're not allowed to smoke there. Now, if they're walking by on the sidewalk, we can't stop it. But in the immediate dining area, smoking is not permitted. You will be responsible for any theft of equipment, so make sure you understand that. Number 21, there's no selling of alcoholic drinks outside the business presence if you're not in a dining establishment. So if you're just a bar, which I don't think we have any, but if you're, and you can't sell alcohol outside. Alcohol sales right now are still only permitted to go. Now, hopefully you can't stand outside of a restaurant and drink. That's just putting you on warning. It's in our plan. I'm not going to come down. A matter of fact, if I see you doing it, I may come up and have a drink myself and talk to the people that are there. However, you'll be seeing me wear my mask. The city is ultimately unilaterally in charge of this program. And if any of the guidelines are violated, revocation of your permit to dine outside and participate in this program is the potential. Failure to follow social distancing protocols is up to you also. And that may result in the revocation of your permit to participate in the program. The city is not charging any additional fees, nor are we charging for any rentals of for example, we put 4 Jersey walls in your place. It may cost the city, I don't know, $120, $130 for the duration of this program, maybe even more. If you count labor, definitely more, but we're not going to charge you. We're going to assume that responsibility and that cost. However, we want some quid pro quo. We want you to do something for us. And that is operate your businesses as if you were indoors. Make sure it's still tidy. I've been to every restaurant. You guys run a great business and we're very proud of all of you, but make sure that you do the same thing outside. Don't let it become, a trash mess. So if you have any questions, our fire department, Chief Krill's on this call. Stephen Narowski, head of our code department, is on our call. He's also in charge of the health department with Joe Gill. Just call us. Again, don't call us. I mean, I answer as many phone calls as I can, but while I've been on this call alone, I don't have a secretary or an assistant right now. They've all been furloughed. So if I'm not available to answer the call, you're going to get my voicemail. The best way to contact anyone in the city of Easton right now is by email. We get our emails 24/7. Some of you got emails from me Saturday, some on Sunday to invite you into this call. I would suggest that my email is spanto@easton-pa.gov. And every person you try to get a hold of is the same thing. First name, first initial, and last name. So Louis Campos is L Campos. Steve Narowski is Steve Narowski. Dave Hopkins is D Hopkins. John Kingsley is J Kingsley. It's very easy to contact us. It's not difficult, even though City Hall is closed. And sometimes the code department one day had over 400 phone voicemail. Now, a lot of them are hang up, but the easiest way to get us is not by phone. I can tell you in my own personal experience, I can answer and I do answer every email within 24 hours. And that's usually 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I know Congressman Wild and I have shared these emails at night a lot in the last couple of weeks as I lobby to get more on the federal level, more dollars directly to cities. The city will have a revenue loss of between $5 and $6 million this year. The state, the only money that's coming from the federal government right now is through the states for cities over 500,000, which there's only 2 in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. There's only 36 in the whole country. There's 19,000 cities, but only 36 of them are over 500. So we want to make sure that we do our part. I do the lobbying with the state, with the feds. The staff is doing their job, making sure everything's getting taken care of. As I direct complaints or concerns to them, they're being handled. Even on Saturday afternoon, or was it Sunday, Dave Hopkins, Saturday, I guess it was, we had another small sinkhole open up at that James and Kleinhahn Street. Between the Suburban Water Authority and us, we've been out there probably 5 times. But even with our limited staff, we are handling everything so far. But the priorities are whatever the emergency is that day. It's not going to be this program. So, we're going to do as much as we can. So if we go to the application, Louis, you can pull the application up. This outdoor permit under the mayor's business recovery plan. I also want to thank City Council who has endorsed this program because we're going to be spending city dollars, but City Council has been very supportive of this. So I want to thank them. Councilman Volcano is chairing our Community and Economic Development Committee, and she's been involved. Dave O'Connell, Jim Ettinger, Roger Ruggles, Ken Brown, Peter Milan, and myself. All 7 of us have been very involved in making sure that we get Easton through this pandemic. People like the Congresswoman and the governor, they're handling the pandemic while it's happening. My job and our job in City Hall is to make sure we come back out of this as best as we can. And you know my saying, we're not only going to survive, we're going to thrive. So these are the things that we're going to want in your application. If you move on down, Louis, we're going to ask you the number of tables and chairs. And again, you can't have more than 6 per table. All right. So if somebody has a table of 10, they need to be 6 and 4 or 5 and 5. The governor's rules are at 6. The number of tables, if you ask for 20, you may only get 15. I don't know. We have not mapped this out. We're trying to gauge, and please, at the end of the meeting, we're going to ask you to, if you really want to participate in this program, at least send me an email today, or not me, but recovery@easton-pa.gov to tell us, A, you want to participate, B, to what extent you want to participate, how many tables and chairs. And then we're going to put all this together and try to sit down and map it out in the downtown and in the neighborhoods. You do see that by applying for inclusion in his programs, and the reopening of Easton requires that I'm agreeing that my business and its employees will comply with all aspects of the program. You move up a little bit, Stephen, Louis, rather. Yeah, there you go. But not limited to adhering to the recommended best practices and procedures for maintaining safe daily habits in order to reduce the risk of exposure to COVID-19. You know, let me just be political a minute. My own personal opinion, we're not out of this yet. I mean, people, if you think we are, we're not. And I know a lot of people are taking it for granted. They're having parties and going to people's houses. Let me tell you something. I've been in the hospital wards where there's COVID-19 patients. You don't want this. I now know 4 people who have died from COVID-19, and I have 2 people right now that I know of that are in the hospital. This is not something to take lightly. And I know everyone wants to get back. That's why I support the governor's and the federal government's decision to just shut down the economy. No one, if you want to believe all this baloney and malarkey that's on the websites and on the internet that they want to do this, no one wants to shut down their economy. No one. Because it's going to take years for us to rebound. Now, fortunately in Easton, I will give these business owners the opportunity to know, I want to tell you something. Easton hasn't stopped. Stephen can tell you that his office is extremely busy with permitting. We have a number of people who want to spend money on their properties, and we have all of our economic development projects that we know of are started. Hearst across the street is going gangbusters. Perron down on North 3rd Street is already pulling permits and doing some core drilling in the lot to see where they want to start construction this month. I mean, everyone is moving forward. 185 South 3rd Street, Perron's $75 million project is not stopping. People are moving forward. They know that Easton will be a hot spot when we go green again, but it can also be a hot spot when we go yellow, as long as we follow the protocols. So the last paragraph is releasing the city and me and employees, everybody else, of any claims or arising from the use of outdoor space. I get sued all the time. So I'm trying to push off some of that liability. But the other thing is, we understand that completing this application does not automatically place our business in this program. The city will do everything. Ooh, that's a typo. We'll do everything possible to include any and all businesses, but may be restricted by traffic and location. We will do what we can. And I see there's some people that want questions. Hagai, you just left. Thank you, Hagai, for being on the call. Hagai has Access Networks on Ferry Street, so we're happy for him. He also has the property up the street on Sitgraves from that. Louis, you want to open up for comments or questions? There's a couple questions here from Nancy. So the designated roads and parking lots used will be closed 24/7. Many of them. No. The only ones I know of that will be closed 24/7 will be the 200 and 300 blocks of Northampton Street. We've not designated anything else yet because we don't know who wants to participate. If Pizzadora wants to participate, we'll add March Street. If Hill's Kitchen wants to participate, we'll add Monroe Street, that one block. If Giacomo's wants to, we'll do Burke Street from Cattell to McCartney. But even in those closures, they'll be as reduced to as little space as possible so that residents can still get in that area. I think of residents, I think of Colonial. I was there last night and, they're the only business on the block. Well, Michelle Tanzella is across the street. I know she's on the call. She's an accountant. A CPA. The problem we're having is you can't shut that whole street down because people need to get to their parking spaces to live there. So we're very mindful of that. Please believe me, we are. But we're going to do everything we can to make this as least impact as possible on the public. This one from Nancy. I'm concerned that I will lose business due to lack of parking. Well, the only business that we can foresee, again, the one quadrant will be open for parking. All of 3rd Street will be, the only streets that won't have parking is a 200 block and a 300 block. And Nancy, we may have to work on that. We may have to figure out how we can allow traffic in there during the day, but these Jersey walls, we just can't, we can't move them. It's a monumental task to move them. From our friends up at DC Dancewear. So if retail business is not moving into the outdoor area, do we still have to have an application and added insurance? No. Retailers, if you're only using the interior of your building, no, you don't have to open up. You don't have to fill out an application or provide the added insurance. Even if you're walking out to your sidewalk, we'll forgo that. If you want to use your sidewalk to encourage people to come in, absolutely do that. The other question I have up here is there any possibility that the city can offer parking Thursday to Sunday during the 4 to 7 open hours to help compensate for the loss of parking spaces and the fact that some people will stay away if they can drive down certain roads or park close to a particular business? Good question. We'll take that under advisement, Nancy. We do offer parking in the garage after 5 o'clock for $1. So that plan is in place right now to continue through the yellow phase. There's been talk about eliminating that program because frankly, very few people are using it. But if you're limiting the space on the streets, maybe they'll start using our garages and it's only $1. As you know, we're just finalizing the 3 cities, a new parking app. We encourage everyone to use the app. It's the best way not to get a ticket. It gives you a 15-minute warning before your meter runs out. You can add time right from your restaurant or retail store, wherever you are. But that's a whole different subject. We are trying to do our best. There will be some pain. There's no doubt about it. This is only yellow. It's not green. And when we go green, from what I understand, the restaurants will be told what percentage. It'll probably be at 50%. So we're not even out of the woods when we go green. Not till when we go normal. And that's going to be some time. People have asked on here, businesses have asked me about special events. I was originally going to have this opening with a big band concert in Center Square and everything, but this plan is for the whole city, not just the downtown. And also, I don't want to have people congregate for a concert that aren't there just to dine. This is for dining. And while I'm speaking of that, I would encourage restaurants to take reservations. It's going to be difficult to get space if you're only at 50% capacity or 60%, whatever you can fit. So that's something else I would do. I would definitely encourage reservations, which most of you do anyway, but I would definitely encourage it. And the same reason the city's not opening up swimming pools is the same thing. You don't want to have that hassle of telling people there's no room. Go home or go someplace else. And you're going to look for a place that doesn't have anybody sitting at a table. You'll sit there and have it. So I found our restaurateurs to be very congenial and cooperative. I saw that happen when Abe Lopez's relative died and he had to go to New York on a really busy weekend at Stoke, and all the other restaurants came to their aid. That's the kind of cooperation that makes us move. Everybody says, oh, how many restaurants can you have downtown? We're all feeding off of each other. No pun intended, but we're all feeding off of each other. So that's really important. Here's one from, will I be able to allow customers to go into my store to serve their own frozen yogurt? No. As I understand it, Serving themselves is not allowed. I'm planning on giving disposable gloves to each customer so when they use the handles of the machines. I would suggest that you talk to Joe Gill later this week. Also, is Crayola planning on opening on Friday? No. Crayola is not planning on opening on Friday. I talked to Keith on Thursday, and there's no good news there. They're looking at, they have contacts internationally. They're talking to the people at Disney World and all the other attractions that have opened up at 30%. As you know, Crayola has about 5 facilities now. Easton's still the beta site, and Easton is still, if not the busiest, the second busiest of the 5. So we're very fortunate that they're doing well in downtown. When they closed in middle of March, they were already at double digits increases over last year's attendance year to date. So we're really, Crayola has been a great partner for the city. So we're hoping that they open soon, but I don't expect to see them open till we're going to lose their season when it really helps downtown people. And that is June, July, and August, when families come, not groups, but families come to the facility. They go out at lunchtime and eat. So we're going to have that as a problem. Another one, I'd like to know if the city has a plan to increase advertising or target advertising to increase tourist traffic into downtown. Now more than ever, we need to increase foot traffic, especially for retail during the week. Foot traffic was down prior to COVID-19, so we really need to bring in day trippers. You're absolutely right, Nancy. Let me just say that the nighttime economy in the city is really good. We're probably the busiest of the 3 cities when it looks at population, because per capita we are slamming at night. We're not, and that's what makes the Perron. I think one of the things that really the committee really liked when they were reviewing it was the fact that they're looking to have cinemas downtown. We want to have something for other people to do other than just come down and eat and drink. However, during the day, our goal has been to increase the daytime traffic, and that's done by having offices downtown. And 175 people at Hearst, they're going to get out and it's your opportunity to market to them and get them to come in your store. 80 people from Lafayette College downtown has helped. Those are the things that where people are downtown every day and afternoon and lunchtime. That's what we really need. So you've seen a lot of focus from us for daytime economy by bringing in office workers. That's what we need downtown. We used to have it. Now we don't. We have very, very few people. We have Cressler, Wolf and Miller. We have Lafayette, but now we have Hearst. The Commodore project, which is also getting started, just to give you an update on that, I forgot to mention that, at the old Kaplan's awning place, they are looking at they've added a floor so that they can add office space, and that is going to be very helpful to the city. Lou Pector's Hearst building, when he did the Heritage building, Heritage Riverside, originally you recall it was going to be a 7-story apartment complex. It's much better being a 2-story office building than a 7-story apartment complex, because there's 175 people. Our parking deck behind City Hall is now maxed out. We do not have any space left for anyone else, because in order to get them here, we had to promise them the 175 spaces. So that's the kind of thing, Nancy, that we are looking at all the time. We are constantly looking to bring office space down. I will tell you that when the city originally put out the RFP for the third, or the Pine Street garage, as we call it, which was premature, so we've taken it off the table. But one of the proposals, and we met with, I'll tell you, it was it First Commonwealth, Lewis?
That's correct.
Yeah, First Commonwealth Credit Union wanted to come downtown, and they were looking to build a 6-story building on that site as part of a major development, a 6-story building, an 8-story building, and a parking garage in the back. And unfortunately, we couldn't meet their timetable. There's no way we could have them in within a year. We will go after everyone. And I gave a presentation to them of why we wanted them downtown. You could be a little fish in a big pond, or a big pond, or a big fish in a little pond. And they did go to Emmaus, and congratulations to them. But we need to be shovel ready for office buildings, because that's what it takes. Now, the Heritage building does have 8,500 square feet still available. If you know anybody, we'd love to be able to have that building full before it's even built.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I jump in? We do have a lot of questions coming in.
Oh, I
know
see.
you, I know you've been addressing them. We also have April on the call who's raised her hand, I think wants to ask you a question verbally.
Okay,
That's April Khalil. So I'm gonna allow April to talk right now. April, can you hear me?
she's still, now she's unmuted. Go
Yes.
ahead, April.
Hi. Hello, good day. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having this meeting. Thank you for having this plan. I appreciate everything everyone's doing. I own Smartivity Showcase downtown on Center Square. And we as a retailer are a very micro business. So I'm interested to know what this plan includes for us as retailers and micro business, trying to get people downtown. We have retail items, we have gifts, we have an online presence, but we still do classes and parties and things like this. So I'd like to know what ideas we can talk about for opening this up to these kinds of activities as well. Of course, staying within the COVID regulations.
April, I would suggest that you go back to marketing 101. The restaurants will be bringing the business downtown. You need to get outside and market your facility to them, to the attendees. I always tell people, the city's job is to get people downtown. Your job is to get them in the door. Your quadrant is scheduled to be closed every day, at least from 4 to 7. If you need it closed earlier, we'll certainly close it earlier for anyone. Caramel Corn Shop has already contacted me. They want to come outside and participate a little bit. We want to help any individual that we can. And I would suggest that when you come up with your ideas, just call me or email me rather, and we will certainly make the time to talk to you this week about what you want to do and how we can get that accomplished.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate it. The main concern I have at the moment is we do have the online presence with, online orders for our art supplies and things like this. So during the day, how would our customers pick up their orders? So you're saying that it will be open for parking or no?
That still hasn't been decided. I think it'll be open for parking, but let me check. Now that you called, I marked it down, and we'll talk about that. If we could I'd like to keep that quadrant at least open. The Dunkin' Donuts quadrant will definitely be open. What we're talking about this morning with staff, Dave Hopkins had a good idea. Why not make the Dunkin' Donuts quadrant, since there's really no restaurant or business there that's going to use the outside, make that all the 15-minute or 30-minute parking so that people can park there and go to your place and pick up what they need to pick up.
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, April. Louis, let me just answer a couple of these quick questions. At 200 block, I have both Josh Palmer and Mike Pichetto, and I know Chip from Ocean is on the call too. Do you anticipate closure of the 200 block of Ferry Street? Mike, you're actually asking, can half the street on one side be closed down? That's our plan right now. Our plan is to allow traffic down Ferry Street, but blocking off your area, Ocean and Seta Luna, so that cars can still go down the travel lane, but they can't, you could still have outside seating. So we'll talk to you guys about that as well.
Mayor, also there are numerous other comments coming through the chat in addition to the Q&A. So if you want to toggle between the two.
Okay.
Some of them you've answered already during your presentation.
Okay, here's one. I've answered one about retail shops. Do they have any anticipated date for going green? No, that's not up to me, unfortunately. That's up to the governor. And I will tell you that our chief, you want to give us an update on the COVID cases to date overall?
Sure. We could look at the numbers. Give me 1 second here. All right, Northampton County. I'll give you an example of the last 7 days. In the last 7 days, we started that period with 16 new cases, 25 new cases, and then it jumped up to 64. That may have to do with the reporting of some of our larger care facilities, elder care facilities. Then back down to 23, 17, 21. So we're around the upper teens as an average, low 20s. No fatalities in the last 6 days.
28 minutes.
That's all good. Hospital numbers of patients on COVID respirators are down. Ventilators are down to about 8 patients in Northampton County, which is a very good sign. So the numbers are looking better. As far as Easton, the only way I have to look at Easton is the number of deaths in Easton, and that's been remaining steady at about 38. It hasn't really risen in the last few days. So the numbers are looking better. Hopefully that'll have an impact on the governor's decision when to put us into the green phase.
Thank you, Chief. Bob Shoup is one of the owners of Skeggie's Axe House, and Bob, I'll address your concern. I've already given you permission to bring your booth outside, but let's talk about the placement of that at a later date. We can get together and talk about that. John,
Mayor-
up at Milo's place, let me
Mayor-
just get his real quick. You're on private property. Using your parking lot in the back is a great idea. I would definitely recommend doing that and allowing Cattell Street to stay open, but it also allows your customers to park anywhere on Cattell on the side street. So I would definitely do that as well. Louis?
I think there's a comment here in the chat column. If you want to take a look at that, scroll down to the end.
The one from April?
That's correct.
Yeah, Congressman Wild would more than happy to answer a question, I'm sure.
I'm oops, am I muted?
You're on,
No.
you're on.
Hi, April. I am aware that small retailers are not benefiting from PPP, and the answer is the Restaurants Act that I spoke of is obviously geared specifically to restaurants, but we are working on more focused small business assistance that will help with grant money for loss of revenues and supplies and that kind of thing. So we're working on it, but I don't yet have anything to report to you that is specifically helpful. But believe me, many districts, not just mine, are very much loaded with small businesses, and I mean micro small businesses. And those of us in Congress who have those kinds of districts are working really hard. So I hope to have something new to report, and we'll connect as soon as we've got something.
Okay. Yeah, Kelly, I see your concern over at Angelo's about the 2 trees that are in concrete planters. We'll see what we can do about that. Randy at Kaplan's, doing a lot of takeout. If the roads are closed, how will the curbside pickup work? Very good question. We talked about that this morning again. The curbside pickup will be eliminated in those areas where the roads are shut down. You'll have to, for example, I don't want to use a restaurant. So let's just say I use restaurant A on North Third or on the 300 block of Northampton Street. I'd have to park someplace else and walk and pick up my order and go back to my car. We will not be able to, when the road's shut down, it's shut down. Opposite of that, let's say I order something from Angelo's, and Angelo's has some Jersey walls out front where you can expand his tables, and you want to do a curbside pickup. Well, then you can park either on Church Street or Northampton Street and walk to his place and pick it up. But yet the curbside pickups in front of restaurants will be eliminated. You'll have to walk to that just like you would today. We're taking away those 15-minute spaces. However, like I said, Dave Hopkins recommended on the northwest quadrant to make that all 15 or 30-minute parking spaces, primarily for people who want to run into retailers or restaurants, pick something up and go home. So those are the types of things that will flesh out in the next couple of days so that we can get everyone as happy as we can. Listen, I know I'm not making a lot of friends with this plan. There's going to be people who are hurt and they're going to be upset. Our goal is to make Easton as open as possible under the yellow. That's the best I can tell you. All right.
Sal, if I could just intervene, one of my team, Mariska, posted in the chat box her email address. And for April and others who have questions about federal programs that they may not yet have been able to access or just need assistance in figuring them out, please make sure you reach out to my office. Mariska's email is right there in the chat box.
Good. Thank you, Congressman. You've been so helpful. We really, really appreciate it. North 3rd Street, Nancy, will not be shut down to parking. As a matter of fact, it'll be a through street. North 3rd and South 3rd will be open for traffic going through the circle. June 5th, Dancewear, DC Dancewear, yes, you can open up on June 5th, inside and outside. You're a retailer. Dean Curtis, thank you. 1001 Thai, yes, we will expand the area along 10th Street, not Northampton Street. So put your application, we'll get that along. The west side of 7th Street between Pine Street and Northampton. Let's take a look at that, Larry. I'm open to it, but I'm just wondering about how much traffic goes up 7th Street from they come up Pearl to go to the courthouse, and the courthouse is reopening. So let's talk about that. Tara, you still need to maintain 3 feet for ADA accessibility. She's asking, can we use the entire sidewalk for dining? No, you have to leave space for people to walk by, but we'll give you space in the actual, right off of your curb for that 10 feet. You can start serving in the street once we get the Jersey barriers in place. Once we get the Jersey barriers in place, I don't care if you serve lunch there. You're protected 24/7. It's just that traffic will be opening. We do want everything cleaned up by 10:30, mainly, and even 10 o'clock if you can, primarily because downtown has become a neighborhood. We don't want to forget about the residents who live there. And if they're living above your place, they don't want to hear people outside, talking and carrying on. So yes, we'd like to stop around 10 o'clock, but no later than 10:30. Will the city post to their social media letting people know what businesses are open? Absolutely. We will definitely do that. To let the business I would say that all the retailers are going to open up on Friday. It's the restaurants that may make a decision not to open up because they don't think it's profitable for, let's say they can have 40 chairs or 24 chairs, and they may not think it's profitable. But as far as retailers, I can tell you that our retailers will be open. They're dying to open. Larry's asking, will it be legal per PLCB to serve alcohol in the street? How will restaurants legally serve alcohol? We're getting answers to that, but right now, I believe it's the city that would enforce the open drinking ordinance, and we're waiving the open drinking ordinance. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for us, but we want to make sure before. Is it possible to close 6th Street from Walnut to south wall of our building? Absolutely, Jeremy. Plan on doing that. 6th Street will be closed. Northampton won't, but 6th Street will be closed, which is easier for you to serve anyway out the side door. It'll be closed probably from Pine to Northampton. That's all the questions I think that I have to answer.
Mayor, you have 2 more questions that came in through the chat.
Okay. Oh, Melinda over at Ashley's. Thank you, Aunt Melinda. If we don't require a street closure because we have an outdoor deck area, do we still need to fill out the application? No. I love your deck. Just make sure you have room for Pam and I. The outdoor deck is fine. You're still in your own area. It's private property. It's when you extend out into the city's right of way that becomes a problem. Mariska's email address is there as well, so, as the Congresswoman said. So you're welcome, Melinda, and good luck. Can't wait to open. Same way with places like, I want to say like Lutzi's. Lutzi's in the West Ward as well. You can put tables outside of your business on your own parking lot. That's easy. You can do that. It's only when you extend into the public right of way that we have an application and a certificate of insurance is required. Now, if you're Lutzi's, you don't want to eliminate too much of your parking, but you have that nice outside dining area as well. So, Troy from Two Rivers is telling me that PLCB meeting is on Wednesday to discuss the provisions in the yellow phase. So that'll be good. We'll find out more about it on Wednesday. But just know that the city is encouraging this. So if you do have an LCE officer show up, you let them know you're following the city of Easton's plan. And I've been in contact with, I know Fadia is on the call. We always want to thank Fadia from the governor's office. She's been a real big help to the economic revival of downtown Easton behind the scenes. You all don't know Fadia, but she's been behind every one of our major state grants that we've gotten, whether it's Hearst or Black Diamond on the south side or Commodore or any of the others, going all the way back for me to the Silk Mill when we got our big Silk Mill grants. By the way, same way, I got a number of people on the call from the Silk Mill. You need to talk to Mark Mulligan or VM Development because that's all private property except for Simon Boulevard. Simon Boulevard is a public street, and there's no room to put. There's only a 2-lane traffic. There's no room to put facilities there, but there's plenty of room on your parking lot. So you could talk to VM Development about that. Anyone else?
Mayor, do you want any of our directors to comment on any of the presentation that you gave today?
Oh, yeah, I do. But I just want to answer James. Yes, if you're a retailer, the only thing you really need to be concerned about is sanitizing your doorknobs, your credit card PIN number machines, and maybe your counters and things like that. Just watch what people are touching. You don't have to ask them to wear gloves, but certainly watch what they touch and then just sanitize it when they leave. So yes, Louis, you want to open up to our directors? We have the primary directors, not all of them, but the primary directors that are responsible for implementation of this business recovery plan. Go ahead, Louis.
I'm going to turn it over to John Kingsley, Director of Community and Economic Development. John, if you want to say any comments. If you don't have any, we'll move on. It's not mandatory here.
Thanks, Louis. I just want to, first of all, let everybody know that we're going to be developing a business recovery program webpage, which will be in the Department of Community and Economic Development's business resource pages. We will also have that tagged at the welcome screen so people can easily access it. On there, you'll get the guidelines, the application. We'll also have maps and related materials as they become available. We'll also do an FAQ, which will kind of provide answers to a lot of the questions that have been raised here, just so people who could not participate in the program can access them. And again, if you have any questions or concerns related to the program, please use the recovery@easton-pa.gov email address. And the phone number to be able to reach us is 610-250-6665. Glad to take your input, and I think the mayor's mentioned this is going to be somewhat of a fluid program. So, please do provide your input, and we will relay it and address it as we receive it. Thanks.
Thank you, John. I'm going to turn it over now to Director of Public Works, Dave Hopkins. Dave, do you want to say anything just about the logistics? We may have some business owners and retailers that may lag on submitting their applications, et cetera, may think about it. From a logistics standpoint, we do have to mobilize resources. Maybe could you just make mention to anything that you may be concerned of with regards to this endeavor?
Sure. I think the sooner we know who's going to participate, the better it's going to be for everybody. The blocks we're placing are actually closer to 2 tons. So just from a sourcing standpoint, because the concrete companies have not been up and running for the past 6 to 8 weeks, there's not a lot of material available, so it's pretty competitive. So the sooner we can, order in what we don't have in stock, and then, loading, transport, placement, it's going to be a process, and it's going to be time consuming too. So, I think the most important thing is to quantify the participation and then plan logistically to deliver the blocks, and try and get it done as quickly as possible. Hopefully we can get it done almost by opening if everything goes well.
Thank you, Dave. Stephen, Director of Planning and Codes, do you want to make any comments?
Just We will be able to provide some guidance from our health bureau with regard to what's going to be required to comply with CDC guidelines. Joe Gill will be available to answer questions. And then you can reach out to us via email regarding setting up seating, what's required for spacing, staggering those chairs, and sanitation.
Okay, thank you. Chief Crow, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Sure, just a couple of things. The first one is, even though is outside dining, if you do decide to use tents or heaters, as the mayor had discussed before at future dates, I'm just concerned about fire safety as always. And we on the city website, there is a guide that we use for events, outdoor events, and in there it provides some information about fire safety. From the standpoint of working under tents. So if you need any more information, you can contact me at mkrill at easton-pa.gov. The only other thing is for those locations where the street is completely closed, one concern that we have in the fire department and also concerns EMS is that nothing can be kept in that middle portion of the cartway so that we can get a fire truck or an ambulance in there in case there should be an emergency within that block. So we're just looking that tables and chairs don't extend into that center lane of the cartway. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, it looks like there's one or two more questions that came in on the Q&A and about one or two more comments on the chat section if you want to address them.
Yeah, I look at the grants or low interest funds available to secure outdoor furniture for restaurants. We do not have anything left. And those are questions for John Kingsley, but the city is trying to get up a grant program or a zero interest loan program for not only businesses, but also for mortgage and rental assistance. So we're working on that. We don't have anything to roll out yet, but stay in touch with John Kingsley. I understand that you may not have the funds to buy outdoor furniture. That's why I'm encouraging you to take any tables and chairs you have inside and put them outside. The other one is, are they responsible for, the question from Troy is, do you want the outdoor permit application submitted digitally or physically? You can send it to the website that's listed, either one. I would suggest use recovery@eastonpa.gov, -pa.gov. Don't ask me why the city put that hyphen in there. It's a pain in the neck. That's definitely something we will do. You can do that digitally, but much better than physically. You can't get in our doors right now. Bayou, you'll be able to expand into the quadrant. So that smaller tables outside of our patio fencing, given there's a walkway. Yes, you're going to keep that walkway open on the sidewalk, but you can expand out into this quadrant. We'll work with you on that and where you can expand, because we have the Tandoor around the corner that'll be using that quadrant as well. Sitgrave Street will remain open. The question came from Josh. And will there be access to the post office? Absolutely. The post office will be untouched. If you ever want to have a problem, consider what we have a problem with on our biggest logistics problem on Heritage Day or Bacon Fest or Garlic Fest is not having access for the postal trucks to the postal facility. So we're well aware of working with them. Two more that just came in. Kim Kometz is mentioning that GTP is considering offering funds for outdoor furniture. Yes, I understand they are, but they need the funds, and we'll just let it at that. So you can contact Kim as well. Other ones, could you address Easton Antique Emporium's coming in? Can you address occupancy? Can I deny service if people refuse to wear a mask? People going into your facility, Randy, must wear a mask. They don't have the dining people outside do not have to wear a mask. The employees do. But in going into any business, yes, they must wear a mask, and you should have a sign. And that brings me to Cliff Ross sent me a packet. I know he's on the call of various signage and things that you may need. And these are some of the signs. And this is the book that Cliff has put together and his staff. Dealing with COVID-19 Revival Playbook. I would suggest you talk to your printer or to Cliff. You definitely want to have some of these, masks must be worn before entering store. Maintain social distancing before you enter the dining area. I mean, those things are really important to show whoever is going to try to enforce that you are trying to comply. You can't oversee or regulate individual behavior, and you can try, but you certainly must post it. So I would suggest you look at the type of signage that you need for your business. But definitely, the last one is Justin's from the East and Wine Project. Can I use both sides of the sidewalks of the street? VM already approved, but they are city sidewalks. If they're city sidewalks, which they are on Simon Street, I don't have a problem with it, Justin. Go ahead, because those sidewalks are only used by VM tenants. They're not used by anyone else. So go ahead, please. We're going to bend the rules whenever we have to accommodate businesses, and that's one that I'm willing to bend. So Justin, you have your approval. Anyone else, Louis, that I'm missing?
I don't think so, but if we did miss your questions, like the mayor said, you could email us, email the mayor, or email the recovery@easton-pa.gov email, and it will be answered. Mayor, I think that's pretty much it on our end here.
Just know one thing. We are trying to help you, but you need to help yourself as well. I don't want to see you get a short-term gain of violating the state regulations and lose that. I will never allow people to violate the health regulations. You're always going to be held to a standard that you must comply or go beyond our health regulations. But if you have a question, don't complain to your neighbor. Call us. Send me an email. I answer my emails 24/7. If I don't know you're having a problem, I can't address that. If the city doesn't know you're having a problem, the city can't address it. So please don't fret over this. We're going to try to help you. But as I said in the very beginning of this meeting, we're going to do everything we can, but it's not going to be equitable. There are going to be some businesses that have more space than others. It's just a matter of location, location, location.
Mayor, it looks like, I don't know if you caught those two last questions that came in from Mothers and then also Randy Bentley. Did you answer those?
Yes, I did. I did answer Andy. It said, Tara's asking, will diners going inside to use the restroom be required to put a mask on? Yes, they should. Anytime they're going inside a business. And you may want to have extra masks laying around just to make sure that they do. Nate, thank you. Nate says, thank you, everyone. And I say thank you as well. Tara says, thank you to everyone. I say thank you as well. To my staff for doing a great job. And I know this week is going to be stressful in trying to get this plan underway, get the Jersey walls in place and ordered and ultimately in place. But I also want to, I see Congresswoman Wild is on again. I can't tell you that this pandemic does not help anyone without the total cooperation from the federal government and the state government. And this is where local government has partners and we need to use them. We have a great relationship with Lamont McClure at the county, and we've been doing a number of food giveaways, meal giveaways. The county's been very receptive. They paid for us putting out porta potties out in the downtown, so people who don't have a place to go to bathroom, because all the public facilities are closed, so they're going and using them. So I want to thank cooperation between the county, the federal government, the state government, and the local government really shines when it comes to a pandemic. So thank you all. Congressman, would you like to say anything at the end?
Let me, hold on, she's muted. One second here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will.
Congresswoman, let me unmute you.
While you're unmuting her, Louis, let me just answer these final two questions.
I think I'm unmuted.
Now you are. Now you are.
I just wanted to say thank you, Sal, for putting this plan together and Thank you to everybody for their input. These kinds of things are really guide a lot of the work that I do when in Washington. So that's why I wanted to sign on and be a part of this. And do please reach out to my office. We have an office right there in the Governor Wolf building. We've got one in Allentown. We've got one in Stroudsburg. Mariska has posted her contact information, and we are here to help. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And the last question is, there's two questions here. Will the city be putting hand washing stations where the streets are closed? No, we're not putting hand stations out there right now. We have them in the ones that we could get, we have in our public buildings for our employees to use. They're really in high demand. Again, it's for the owners of the restaurants to keep their bathroom facilities open for people to use. DC Dancewear is reminding me, next week is the senior parade, Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. They will be coming down Cattell Street, down College Avenue Hill to North 3rd, to Center Square, to Northampton Street, and out Northampton all the way to the high school, to Palmer Township, I should say, because they're going to go through Palmer Township as well. I will say that the city is supporting this. We're going to try to get our fountain on with red water. We're trying to, we're putting up some banners. We want to thank the senior class. As you know, they've lost a lot, including their prom and their graduation ceremonies. So we're trying to do as much as we can for the senior class, working with the school district, who's done a great job. I understand there'll be between 600 and 700 cars in this parade. So it's an opportunity for you to shine. You know, as I always say, retail is front door. Are your windows clean? Is your display inside your windows nice? Do I want to walk in your store? It's all about front door theory of marketing. If my front door is dirty and doesn't look good, I'm not walking in your store. So this might be an opportunity for you to shine. But yes, it is Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. State Cafe is asking about South Fifth Street. Bill, it's Bill. It says State Cafe, so it must be Bill. Bill, we'll do whatever we can. You'll have, we'll close off the spaces in front of, the places in front of your restaurant will be closed off. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. And thank you, Congresswoman Wild, for a great job in Washington and for being on our call today. You all have a great day. Stay safe. If you have any questions, email